Agenda questions. Please limit your questions at this time to resolutions under new business on this agenda. As a matter of fairness, you are asked to limit your questions to no more than one and your remarks to no longer than 3 minutes. If you are here representing a group, please identify yourself, the group, and your position in the group. If you are here as an individual, please give us your name and address. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes. Please specify the resolution you are referring to in your question. Okay, thank you. We have the superintendent's report.
We do. Good evening, everyone. What I'd like to do for our superintendent, my superintendent's report this evening, is to provide a technology presentation as far as recommendations for the 16-17 school year. So, Kyle, if you wouldn't mind pointing down the screen. I think one back. What do you think? Back one? Okay, just a little intro while we're setting up the PowerPoint.
Sorry,
We have spent a great deal of time in discussion, looking at our technology in the district and deciding what we wanted to do moving forward. What we want to do this evening is to do a presentation for you, which is based in curriculum and instruction and why the technology piece is important. So Christine Zimmerman, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, is here. We also have with us Carlos Rosa. He is our Director of Technology. We have Kristen Trebona, who is the Supervisor of Science, 6 to 12. We have Verena Rossi, who is our Supervisor of English, and you'll see the importance of them here this evening. We also have Mr. Bleeker, our Business Administrator, because with any initiative, there's usually some money tied along with that. What's important to all of us is what you're seeing presented this evening is very much a team effort. It's not my initiative. It's a team initiative, and it's an initiative based on not only real good curriculum foundation, but it moves forward from what we learned in our pilots this year, and we'll talk about that and why our recommendation moving forward makes the most sense from what it is that we've learned. So with that said, it's all yours, Ms. Zimmerman.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Okay, the clicker works. We're off to a good start. Okay, I'm going to start off with a quote from John Dewey. John Dewey was and is a revered progressive educator who lived from the middle of the 1800s to the middle of the 1900s, but was a man ahead of his time and is still being quoted today. John Dewey said, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. So I'd like you to keep that in mind as we talk about everything today, because really that's what it's about. Changing the way we teach our students so that they could reach higher heights previously thought unimaginable. We're basing a lot of what we want our students to do on this model. This came out probably about 5-8 years ago. It's from the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, and the rainbow on the top are the outcomes that we want our students to have. And the very top of it are the 4 C's. It's critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity. On the right-hand side is information, media, and technology skills. The left, life and career. The green rainbow, key subject matter and 21st century skills. And the ripples on the bottom are all the ways that the schools can make those things happen. So keeping this in mind, we'll bring this up again later, especially those key skills at the very, very top, the 4 C's. So where does technology fit in all of this? We want to ensure that technology is not just an add-on, another initiative, another thing yet to do. I was just sharing with somebody earlier that a few years ago in education we said it was the perfect storm, right? A lot of stuff was happening, a lot of changes. This is something that will transform education for all of us in a way that I think everyone is going to see as a positive. This will be something that's integral to curriculum and to learning.
So what we did this year is we wanted to have some pilot programs. We wanted any technology rollout we had to be thoughtful and meaningful. We often read in the papers, you know, that districts are moving to a one-to-one, and they're moving and they're moving, and there have been questions to me over the last few years, what are you doing as far as technology is concerned, and why isn't every kid getting a device yesterday? 2 reasons that didn't happen. One, I didn't know enough about the culture and the dynamic of Mahwah, and every district is different, and what necessarily may work in one district may not necessarily work in ours, so we decided to move slowly. This year we had some pilot programs. We did a teacher laptop program. We established bring your own device for all of our pre-K to 12 teachers, and we also did a pilot program in our STEM design and research class. Our teacher laptop program took place at Ramapo Ridge Middle School. Brian Miller, the principal, is here this evening. We provided 15 teachers at Ramapo Ridge with a computer. We provided really meaningful professional development to support increased technology infusion. Now the teachers had these devices. And we incorporated a game changer, as Mr. Miller called it, and that's Office 365. Office 365, I'm going to talk about in the next slide, enabled our teachers to be able to communicate better. Office 365 is an online suite. It's of no cost to students, but it allows students and teachers to share on a OneDrive, which is a cloud storage, and a lot of us are familiar with that storage device. It allows for OneNote, so teachers can create notebooks that help them deliver curriculum and stay organized, as well as students being able to see that all through cloud services. And it also includes the classroom notebook. John Pascal is the high school principal. He's here this evening. John started using this, I think, with his department supervisors, right, John? And being able to share through that. So we had those two pilots moving through. The second pilot we had was the STEM student laptop pilot. We gave 19 computers, very heavy-duty computers, and the reason that I say that is that they were very powerful because the STEM research and design course requires our kids to design, and they design through AutoCAD, and AutoCAD needs a real big processing system in order to do that. So the teachers at the Ridge and the teachers in the STEM program, along with their teacher, 19 students, received these computers. Although we've had discussions up to date, we did do some surveys, and Mr. Boner, our supervisor of science, is going to talk to you a little bit about what we learned from these pilot programs.
Thank you, Dr. Schoen. I think it's really important to say that we needed to go to the source to figure out how well this worked or what happened with this. And the source first was the Ramapo Ridge students, and really their responses kind of led us to two major themes. First, that this increased their communications. They felt that ability to directly access their teachers, to ask the questions, and to be advocates for themselves through this online platform. Additionally, they felt that it allowed them more of that collaboration, that freedom to work with other students, to kind of be in a world that they are used to, in that virtual world, but engaged and infused in their lessons. From there, we look at the numbers, because the numbers have to match. And if you look at that, 98% of our students agree or strongly agree that this helped them communicate better and collaborate better with their teachers. Additionally, moving forward, they were more engaged in the lessons. From their perspective, through this Microsoft 365 platform, we had a majority of our students engaged in their lessons. And this kind of makes sense because they are engaged in the virtual world outside of school. So if we balance and bring some of this virtual world in school, it's more likely to grab and bring them back to us. But now we have to go to the teachers. The teachers complimented the students in the sense that they also saw this increased collaboration and communication with the students. They felt that they could easily access the students via email without going through that parent interface. At the middle school level, it's often student, parent, teacher, and backwards. When that happens, you get sometimes like, oh, well, I emailed the teacher or I emailed the mom, and the student feels kind of taken aback by that. Additionally, they felt that you got real-time data. You were able to look with feedback, have everything in one place in order to kind of just go there. Their data also matched. They felt that there was an increase in collaboration and communication, but more so, they felt that the professional development was the key to this. Okay, we had the sustained PD, and they felt without that, we couldn't move forward. They also looked at, we asked them, is it the access to device? Is it them carrying the device, or is it them having access to this device? And the teachers felt that they needed to have access so that when appropriate, this tool could be used. Not so much they needed to hold on to it, but they needed access to it. The high school students, the shift is a little different. The shift looks more at the organizational standpoint. The students saw the OneDrive platform as a way for them to organize not only their classwork, what they would normally email to themselves, put on a thumb drive. They kind of called it this ideal of a virtual backpack, and they felt that no longer did they have to move through with what do I bring home, what do I not bring home. They also found it much easier to access this at various times. We don't see as much of the numbers being as high, but that's because of the natural idea that the teachers and the students already communicate and collaborate at the high school level. The students did not feel, they use their laptops in other classes, but if we see next, they don't necessarily use that school-issued laptop over the device they have at home.
So we heard from the kids, the 19 kids at the high school. When we did survey the middle school students, we surveyed the whole population, not just those students who were in the classes of those teachers who had the computer. So you had hundreds of kids kind of weighing in on this Office 365 because the teachers were kind of using it across the board. So here's what we decided to do, and here's our plan. We would like to provide new laptop computers for students and teachers. We want to provide one new laptop for each teacher on the middle school level. And we want to provide one new cart per grade level content area, 2 teachers sharing 1 cart. Let me explain what that means. We've got 2 language arts teachers on the 6th grade level in Ramapo Ridge. What we want to do is we want to provide 1 cart of 30 computers for both of those teachers to use, and to use that same concept in every content area on every grade level in the middle school. To give you some kind of perspective, there are 8 or 9 teachers sharing 1 or 2 carts currently, and they need to sign out for those carts. So what we're doing is we're closing that ratio down, and we're saying, okay, rather than the 8 or 9 teachers wait for the 1 or 2, 1 teacher just needs to wait for 1 other teacher. 1 for every 2. That's what we're recommending for the middle school. For the high school, we would like to provide new laptop computers for our English and our science departments. Why English and why science? English because if you take a look at that sign-out list and see what department is using those computers the most and requesting them, it's English. And science, we did that STEM pilot program, and science really did beautifully with the use of computers, so it makes sense that science is a department that we move forward with. We want to provide all the students in grades 9 through 12 with a district email address. Yeah, high school kids have email addresses, there's no doubt, but they're their Optimum Online and their AOL. What we want to do is we want to provide them that Mahwah K12.NJUS, same thing that we provided the middle school students, so that teachers and students can communicate via that email address. We also want to provide 1 new laptop for each teacher, and we also want to add additional carts per department, 2 teachers sharing 1 cart. Same thing as the middle school, but we want to do the same thing for our English department and our science department. We have thought about what this looks like now and what it looks like in the future, and our overarching objective with this is to provide as many computers to as many students as we can in the quickest period of time. So with that said, Kristen is going to talk to you a little bit about what our 2-year rollout looks like. So at the end of 2018, all of our students in grades 6 to 12 have access to new devices.
I know this is so tiny, and I apologize for that. It's trying to get as much information as we can over this 2-year plan. So if we're looking at this, we're looking at Ramapo Ridge and Mahwah High School in the 16-17 school year, which is going to start next September. At Ramapo Ridge, basically what this is saying is that we calculated out how many carts we would need to add to each department in order to meet that 1 cart per 2 teacher ratio. Including the special ed classrooms, which have a smaller number per cart of 12 laptops per cart, we will be adding 636 student devices to the middle school as of next year. Additionally, what we'll be adding is 61 staff members. 61 staff members will receive that same device. Moving over to Mahwah High School, if we focus first on just the English and the science departments, We want to match that ratio. That's the ratio we found to be the most effective or projected to be the most effective. So what we're looking at is if we add 4 new carts to English and complement the 2 existing carts, we will have 6 carts to match that 1-to-2 ratio. Additionally, we can add 4 carts to science, matching their 1 additional existing cart, and we'll meet that ratio. We will also provide 30 teachers with laptops, approximately 30 teachers. That includes the science teachers in the high school, the English teachers in the high school, and possibly 5 additional teachers who could possibly pilot from other departments and kind of be on board, so when it comes down, as you see in the next year, that they're kind of like the talkers, the helpers, or the leaders in that. As we move to the 17-18 school year, we see that we outfitted Ramapo Ridge to begin with, so there's no need to purchase additional laptops. As we move to the high school, we will complete the major departments, the academic departments of math, social studies, and world language at 30 laptops per cart. And we will go back and replace the existing carts that we were offsetting in the beginning. So that's 3 carts, 2 in English and 1 in science. With that addition, plus, down here, with that addition, you're looking at 504 computers the second year. The first year at Mahwah High School, you're looking at about 220 computers. But now, at the end of these 2 years, we've increased the access, the number of computers, and 6 through 12 has brand new computers.
We've also added, and Kristen, I'm sure was going to mention this, 59 computers for the additional high school staff during that second year. Because what we wanted to do is to make sure that our teachers had the same device that our students had. So it would be identical. Christine?
Thank you. The last column talks about professional development. We spend a lot of money on professional development here in Mahwah, and I believe really it's one of those line items where it's so integral to the success of everything we do. We just don't give teachers a program, a textbook, say try to teach this new way, or here are some computers, good luck. We want to really support teachers in their efforts to do what they do even better than they already do. So our Ramapo Ridge teachers in the pilot this year, those 15 teachers are our cohort 1 at Ramapo Ridge, and they're undergoing professional development this year, and we're learning from those efforts at the Ridge to inform our plans moving forward. So that's cohort 1 at the Ridge. Next year we'll have high school cohort 1 and Ridge cohort 1, the ones who are just starting for the first time, and Ramapo Ridge cohort 2, so that the professional development meets the teachers where they are in terms of their learning. For the 17-18 school year, same principles apply. Cohort 1 for the high school, cohort 2 for the Ridge are going to have classroom coaching, which is what the Ridge teachers will be doing next year, that pilot group. And the first cohort at the Ridge, we're going to see what they need based on everything that they learn next year. So we're going to get feedback from the teachers and use that to inform our professional development moving forward. But we're really going to support them in this effort. It's continuous, it goes deeper, and we think it's a good plan for the future.
So what device are we going to use? That's you, Carlos.
There you go.
Here you go.
Let me just give this demo to the actual board. After all has been said, we had to select a device that would support this pedagogy. So we decided to go with the HP ProBook 430. It is the latest technology that we have. It is the Intel i3. So it's a current processor. It has a 13-inch screen, which it can also be used for our ongoing testing like PARC. It comes with 8 gigs of RAM, which is very essential in the software that we run on the actual device, and it has a fast hard drive. So we've selected this for numerous things because it allows our pedagogy to flourish on this device as it's expanding. So some people may ask, why this laptop versus a Chromebook? Well, again, with Chromebooks, though they're a nice device, they're not agnostic. They're Google-centric. So you're bound to anything and everything that Google does, and it doesn't allow for the actual curriculum to grow the way we need it to. As you can see, you can install in-house software on the Chrome platform because it has to be produced by Google. Whereas in the laptop with Windows 10, you can install any third-party software on these laptops to allow our curriculum to continue to move forward. The productivity in the Chromebook line, it's geared just straight to Google Docs. Whereas in our solution with Windows 10 and this laptop, we can install, we have Windows, we have an Office suite, we have Office 365 Cloud, and any other ancillary products that we need. Browser-based. The browsers on Chrome is just that, Google Chrome. Certain tests that we have to administer may not like Chrome. So we need that flexibility. And in that, Windows, again, ends up allowing us to install Internet. It has Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, etc. So we took a lot of time actually deciding this platform for the sake of curriculum.
Excellent, Carlos, thank you.
Okay. So as we have discussed what the plan is going to be for the 16-17 year, the implementation, we're estimating approximately 856 devices to be acquired at the $595 that Mr. Rosa had mentioned. That comes to approximately $510,000. We would be doing this through either a lease or a lease finance process, so that would help spread out that cost over 3 years. So our initial budget for next year for 16-17 would be approximately $170,000 to represent that payment on the 510. For 2017-18, as Mr. Trebone has said, the second phase would be acquiring approximately 504 devices. Again, at 595, we're looking at approximately a $300,000 cost. Again, look at either a lease or lease finance option so we can spread out that cost over several years. So it would be a $100,000 additional increase to that budget line item in the 17-18 school year. So beginning with the 17-18 school year moving forward, to sustain the program, we have approximately $270,000 for a budget line item. There would also be, as we have mentioned, some of the computers would go into the staff. Those we are confident we can purchase out of some of the funds we have this year, reallocating some of the technology budget that we currently have. The purchase of some computers that we have not yet acquired. And the last thing to say is by looking at this lease purchase or lease finance option, it takes away some of the peaks and valleys that would normally be in a technology budget. If we would just purchase everything outright and then having to repurchase it again in several years, we can maintain a consistent budget line throughout the years to sustain this initiative.
This is a change for Mahwah in regard to technology as far as purchase is concerned compared to lease. We've always purchased the equipment that we have, so everything we have we own. And I think that kind of made sense when technology wasn't evolving as quickly as it is now. The reason we are entertaining and recommending that we go to a lease or a lease financing is so that we have the ability to give our students the most updated equipment every 3 years, and that will be on a refreshing standpoint. So that's where we're at as far as costs, and to end almost as we started.
Okay. I've said it before, the key to it really is professional development, to make sure our teachers understand and are supported in their understanding and their deepening understanding. Mr. Miller's 15 teachers in the pilot program just learned about this the other day, right, through the professional development on the SAMR model. And SAMR is an acronym. If you start from the bottom on the left and move up, the letters all stand for something. So S is for substitution, A is for augmentation, M is for modification, and R is for redefinition. And you'll see that it's divided into 2 parts, a top and a bottom. This is how teachers use technology, how students use technology, how they integrate it into the learning tasks. They're all good. They're all good. As you move up, it gets more complex and even better. So the 2 on the bottom, the substitution and augmentation, enhance the instructional projects, the tasks that the students do. Modification and redefinition transform them. And so our teachers will be supported as they make those substitutions, as they make those augmentations, as they modify assignments, as they redefine what learning can be. And as the students use the technology tools in ways that teachers have never even imagined, right? Once you let the kids loose, it's all about the kids. That was something that came out in our conversation after that professional development. It's really focused on the kids. Yes, it's how teachers use technology and integrate it, but it's ultimately how children will do, and what they'll do with it. And remembering back to that P21, that rainbow slide, right? We're growing 21st century folks who will be able to participate fully and as critical thinkers in our 21st century society. We're already 16 years in, right? It's no longer new anymore. And we want to make sure that we give them the tools that they need to get there and to be those fully participating citizens. So what are our outcomes? That's the outcome, that's the goal. So here are our professional development goals on the left, next to the improved measurable outcomes on the right-hand side. This is our best guess at this point, our educated guess, as educators who've all come together to think about how could we measure this? We're not even really living this yet. So what could this look like? So our professional development goals in year 1 and year 2, we're going to talk about changing the culture, learning the tools. So for our teachers and students, you can see the things we're going to measure on the right-hand side. How are we exploring the technology? How are we increasing communication? We'll use surveys, observations to figure that out. Learning the tools in years 1 and 2 again for teachers. Are you using technology? Are you identifying how you'll use it in your lesson plans? Where does that fit in the SAMR model? We'll ask them to reflect on it. We'll do coaching with them with students, creating rubrics that will be able to tell us where they are in terms of their technology integration. In year 2, we'll build the pedagogy. We'll build those, the way the teachers use it in the classroom. Coaching model is key here. And it'll give them, it's like the coaching analogy, right? In a sport, that's the feedback is immediate, the players change what they do. That's formative assessment, and we'll do that with our teachers and coach them as well. We're going to look for outcomes in our Danielson evaluation rubric, 3C, that's engaging students. We are fully expecting that this technology will engage students. I don't think anybody said it yet. We've talked about it extensively as administrators. Why middle school? Right? That's the point where we're afraid that they start to perhaps go off path a little bit. Technology is very engaging for them. So this will help our teachers reach them. And we'll look at their grades in real time. We hope that, we fully expect, we plan that the infusion of technology in ways that engage students will help them reach their learning goals in a better, more real way, and that we'll see better grades there as well. And then years 2 and 3 is all about that transformation for teachers and students. Are we doing more high-level technology integration from that SAMR model? And we'll look at teachers' lesson plans and have them reflect, where are you with this lesson? Are you just substituting or are you transforming? That's the goal.
So that is our recommendation to the board this evening. We kind of told you where we're coming from and where it stems from, and the foundation that we used to make a recommendation moving forward. It is one I can tell you that the administrative team here and the principals that are present, in order for anything to be successful and any new initiative to be successful, you need to have really great cheerleaders. Mr. Miller has been, along with his team, an outstanding cheerleader of infusing this into his school. And that's part of the reason we are where we're at. And Mr. Pascal has said, you know what? Bring in your professional development people and let's walk around and see what we have and where can we go. And admittedly so, he said this is exciting. This is changing the way that we do things. And in sharing this with the technology committee and in sharing this with the finance and facility, you know, Mike, you talked about this is going to be a very exciting challenge. This is going to have some changes and some things along the way. Some you can expect and some you can't. But I can tell you that it's not being given to you and recommended to the board as this is exactly why we think we should do it and this is it and done. It's been vetted in a lot of real good conversations and it's got some really great cheerleaders. And with that said, we truly believe it's in the best interest of our children to move forward with the infused technology. Any questions?
I got a couple. So, can I ask Brian? I know you're not presenting, but
No, he's good.
It's been killing me not to say
I
it.
gotta it's like that. So, you know, here's the softball. Is it, like, how does the instructional staff feel about this possibility? Is it?
The group that's using them now, or the group that thinks it's coming, hopes it's coming?
Well, the second group.
He presented today.
I'm most curious, but how did it go? Like, what did they?
So I shared with our staff today that this plan was being presented tonight, and there was a low cheer in the faculty meeting because they didn't want to disrespect me by cheering, and or Carlos because some of the stuff doesn't work. But there was a low cheer, and here's what's exciting. What's exciting is that the 15 teachers that are doing stuff, and I'll just leave it as stuff because we're not going to get into it, that's leaking. And now we've got other teachers, I see Chris nodding her head because the same thing happened in her school, other teachers going, I want to do that. I want to do that. So the slow rollout that Dr. Shawn shared was a perfect way to go because it's creating enthusiasm and optimism. I was in a special ed classroom where they created classroom notebooks for every kid. We've got the highest level math teacher that hasn't done that yet we're doing it in a special ed classroom because she's got that ability to do so because she's been on the pilot program. So they're chomping at the bit, it would be the right answer.
And so with Rubicon, we will have the ability to sort of capture those ideas.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the right term is, but embed them in the suggestions.
And be able to
there.
access them a lot quicker, having that device that's
Right,
there.
because if I do something and I do it in my classroom for a week and it works, then I can get that into a mode where other people can.
And other people can then use it from there and see it and share it and collaborate about it.
Okay, that's awesome. And I'm gonna get this wrong. We changed our report card approach to reflect
Standards.
these standards, these benchmarks. So over time, right, you guys will have a different ability to actually track a student across multiple grades, right? More longitudinally than we could do before.
Chris,
Yes,
Because you
well,
know,
we've always been able to, so it's K-5
Right,
report
K-5.
card, yep, with that are tied to standards, it's a standards-based report card, and 612 is your regular grading that everybody's used to report card. But yes, you can, since it's all in real time now,
Right.
all of that data can be pulled with a report.
So if I'm an
So-
instructor taking in a group of fourth graders, I'll have a better ability to look at where those fourth graders are in terms of where they finished on performance standards.
That's right.
So if I can do a little bit more planning on how differential instruction may be applicable.
That'll be
And
one
that-
piece of it. There's so
Okay.
much other data also,
Okay.
in addition to report card data that our teachers actually look at
Okay.
from year to year. But yes, that'll be an easy, like at the run of a report to pull that
Cool.
report card final grade.
Cool. Well, thanks for being the sharp end of the spear.
It's been fun, it's been great.
That's very cool.
It's exciting.
Cool, thank you. So my last question was, are we gonna need more wireless infrastructure and so forth, or are we set, or?
No, every classroom was already outfitted with a wireless access point,
Okay,
so throughout the whole district. So we're quite capable of actually sustaining that.
cool.
I think part of the reason that we've had issues that Brian so wonderfully alluded to, part of the reason that I think that we've had some issues more so than we would typically have, because we are adding a boatload more computers if you think about it, so we're going to be hitting harder what we normally do, is that our current hardware is beginning to age out. You know, we have a whole bunch of laptops on carts in the high school, about 330 of them. Some of those 330 are from 2011. And you know as well as I do with a piece of technology at home, it's going to begin to slow down, the battery doesn't last as long, the connectivity isn't as great as it should be, so I can't help but think that newer will be better and connect quicker. Now, perhaps I'm naive, but I found it at home, just purchasing new technology, it's just quicker and it jumps on board. So we do have some older stuff.
If I may, one of the things that we found out with that connectivity issue is that because we're sharing, let's say the 5 of us are sharing one laptop, I've got 25 kids in one class, I have 125 kids. So now we're looking 125, 125, 125, 125, 125, sharing the same card. It's the caching and over again in that computer that has to recognize, I'm period 4, number 13, kid Johnny Jones, Ricky, Susie, Johnny, Mike are having a hard time, logging on because it's over and over again. So what's going to happen when we're sharing when Vereen and I are only sharing one card, that's, look at how many fewer kids are using that unit to log on, and it's going to be faster. And we're very excited about that. Interestingly enough, the special ed kids and special ed teachers have the fewest problems of logons because they have the fewest number of kids in the class using those 12 units. And so we learned that over time.
Any other questions from the board in regard to? We've spent a great deal of time moving this forward, so it is our hope from the lack of questions and the smiles and the head nodding that we have your approval to move forward and work with finance and facility. Is that a yes? I couldn't be more excited. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, all of you. Okay, that's pretty much it for my superintendent's report tonight, everyone.
Thank you very much. Oh, Carl, do you have Mr. Fair.
Sure, my report is equally as exciting. And I mean that. So for agenda item A, I'd like to highlight and celebrate a retirement for Linda Zaccone. If anyone knows Linda Zaccone, she's the resident reading expert in her district. As her former supervisor, I've also been in her classroom, and she is awesome. She's spent 18 years in her district, and throughout her entire teaching career, she's actually taught every grade level, 6 through 12. That's something she was really excited about when we talked in my office the other day. And if anyone's been in her classroom, they know she's dynamic, engaging, and with that said, she'll be missed. She is really excited to travel though.
If I
And
can
read,
just, if I
and
can
actually
add, Linda's name is on the list for, to approve professional development. Linda's going to the Saturday reunion at Teachers College Columbia on a beautiful Saturday in March, in the
Yep,
spring,
that's her.
even though she's retiring.
Yep, that's her.
That speaks to the kind of teacher Linda is.
Absolutely, and and she said she just can't wait to just relax and read, which is so awesome. The second piece, agenda item D, we have Mr. Joseph Cozy, who is here today. Hi, Joe. Joe comes to us from West Morris Mendham High School with 13 years of special education experience. He's worked in class support and a resource setting, and he's been involved in all content areas, from the sciences to English language arts, and particularly mathematics. He's, through some extensive interviewing, he's proved to be knowledgeable in educational technology. He's been part of his professional development team, data analysis team, and the long-range planning committee for his current district. And working with a supervisor, building principals, as well as the director of special services, we're recommending Mr. Cozy for your approval this evening.
Welcome, Mr. President.
And that's it.
This evening, I would like to mention a few things. We have Mahwah High School shines in the All-State Concert at NJPAC. Congratulations go out to them on a successful All-State Concert at NJPAC on Saturday, February 20th. And I would also like to mention Princeton University's Distinguished Secondary Teaching Award. Mr. W. Randall Fuchs, teacher of social studies, has been selected as one of the 10 finalists from over 70 New Jersey teachers for the 2016 Princeton University's Distinguished Secondary Teaching Award. Ms. Roseanne Sapieri, Princeton University, will be conducting a site visit in the next few weeks to observe 2 classes, as well as speak with selected staff and students. After site visits, the Princeton University Selection Committee will select 4 from the 10 finalists as final award winners. The 4 recipients of the award will be recognized and honored at Princeton University's commencement on Tuesday, May 31st, 2016. So congratulations to Mr. Fuchs on being selected as a finalist and for bringing Thunderbird pride and spirit to our school community.
You're welcome.
Do we have any board committee reports at this time?
Just for policy 15E and F, We have some new policies and regulations, mostly dealing with nursing issues and integrated pest management plan. And F is just the second reading of some bylaw updates.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening?
Facilities and Finance had a session. There's a couple of more steps to take in terms of gathering inputs before Kyle is ready to start bringing us preliminary budget concepts. I think the next step is they're reviewing enrollment and see where that puts us from a staff standpoint.
Thank you. Anything else? Good. We have time now for board member remarks and additional comments on reports and other non-agenda items. Christine? Yes.
I just wanted to say that I am very, very excited for the technology initiative. I think it's really gonna increase teaching and learning and just make Mahwah even better than it is already.
Our teachers do
Thank
really
you.
great things with technology and great things with our kids. We're just giving them more devices to do it and some professional development to help them get even better. So I think it's a win-win for our teachers and for our students.
And I also want to thank everybody who worked on this initiative.
Big team.
So it's really a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. All right, now we have old business. Minutes, may I have a motion? Minutes of Doug Angelo and Richard Silva. Thank you.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Denise.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Mr. Salderini.
Yes.
Ms. Curry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
And Ms. Barry.
Yes. Now I'd like to move new business. I'd like to take A through R. Anyone have any discussion on any of those items? Christine, yes.
Question on D, field trips. It looks like Mahwah High School students are going to Mahwah High School on a field trip. Second round.
Well, some of them haven't seen.
I let my son is that engaged in.
That's here.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a big goat.
Right.
Okay,
Good question.
good question.
To find out where those 50 students are going.
I will let you know why we have 50 students going from one school to the same school, and I'll take care of that. So maybe what we should do, I don't even know. We
Next
should
year they'll
amend
have
it at this
technology.
point.
We can do it virtually.
Yeah.
I'm going to amend that resolution.
No, you guys got it emailed, we have it emailed in our packet, to be able to call up that sheet. Does anybody have an iPad or something?
Yeah, that's not.
Don't we have a,
Yeah, when they're there.
we happen to have a laptop?
Would you mind finding it, if you wouldn't mind, Christine? Just that sheet.
Okay. Question on R.
Thanks for waiting.
Sneak attack. That was, we have, Bergen County Special Services utilizes one of our classrooms at the high school. They have been for, I believe it's been about maybe 6 or 7 years. And with their opening up, I believe, with a new facility in Paramus, if I'm not mistaken, they no longer need to have a facility here, so they've reached out to us and said that they would wish to terminate the agreement.
It's a shame, because I've been here for some time, but the enrollment dropped, and it's not, I think, worth having them remain here, but it is a loss to us because it is a revenue provider, so it's a great question.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I'd like to take 15A through R. Can I have a motion, please? Doug and Mike Gallo.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Denise.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes, except I am abstaining on 15A, check number 081240.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Mr. Salderini.
Yes.
Ms. Curry.
Yes.
Mr. D'Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
And Ms. Barry.
Yes. Next we have new business, personnel. I'd like to take A through L. Any discussion on these items? Oh, sorry. May I have a motion? Christine and Richard Silva, thank you. Now, does anyone have any discussions on these items? Ms. Conica.
Yes, on C, resignation of Marina Rossi, I just want to say that she will be sorely missed and that she had a strong impact on a lot of students, myself included.
I'll say ditto to that.
Just to wish Ms. Saccone a restful time. It's a great age.
Reading for pleasure.
Yes.
Because it's going down, right?
They're doing closely teaching in middle school students, so it shouldn't have said Mahwah High School, it should have said Mahwah Middle School.
No, we could have the middle school students coming up to the high school.
The middle school students coming up to the
Could
high
be
school.
coming up to the high school where they're doing the training.
What we're saying is that we believe we found what it is that you're talking about, Chris.
Kids.
The Ridge kids going up to the high school, which means that should have reflected Ridge to the high school as opposed to Mahwah High School to Mahwah High School. Yes.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, wherever you are.
Okay, 16A through L. Yes.
We had Chris already gave a motion, and
Chris
Priscilla gave a second.
Rick, yes.
Rick gave second.
And
Roll call, please, thank you.
Mr. De Silva.
Yes.
Mr. Denise.
Yes.
Mr. Gallo.
Yes.
Ms. Conoco.
Yes.
Mr. Salverini. Ms. Curry. Mr. D'Angelo.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
And Ms. Barrett.
Yes. This time we have public questions or comments. This section of public participation will be limited to 15 minutes.
Evelyn Slotbauer, 43 Funhead Place. Just a quick question about, I know they had where the teachers could bring their own devices. I guess what is the policy if a student wanted to bring their own device?
We're in the process of talking about that, and there are a couple of reasons we pause. The first is if we had all of our students bringing in all devices, it's going to be all different kinds of devices. And although we have an excellent technology staff, when you've got kids bringing all sorts of devices, it would mean that our technology staff would need to be masters in Apple and HP and all sorts of different things. The second piece is more curricular based, and that is one of the reasons we want to supply all of our students and teachers with the same device is so that the software and the applications we want to use will be uniform throughout an entire classroom. We can't ask students to do something in a classroom setting that all students don't have the ability to do. So if students bring in their own laptops and want to use it in that classroom setting, but we're using a piece of software that they can't get on there, we cannot expect our tech department to outfit all these different computers all over the place with having the same allows them to download the same very quickly on a bunch of different computers. Which leads to, well then can they bring their computers and then perhaps use them in the library on off periods of time if you don't have them curricular. I think, and John has left, I think, Nikki, we do have students, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but we do have students that do bring their own devices and have the ability to do that already. So it's there and it's open for that at this point. I think it'll get a little bit better, but that's kind of a long answer to your
Yeah, I wasn't sure with the whole Office 360 and the cloud and whether that would be sufficient enough for a student to be using.
The answer is they will be able to access Office 365. In fact, I don't know if we mentioned it, but you'll be able to access, they'll be able to access and teachers their account on up to 5 different devices, which is pretty cool, because if they have a tablet at home or they have a laptop, or whatever it is at home, they can just log into their account, which means therefore they could do it on a computer that they brought.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Slotkin.
Any other questions or comments?
Scott Gaslow, 552 Adirondack Court. All right, I have a lot of thoughts about the technology stuff, so if I'm a little scattered, I apologize. I spent a lot of the last 2 years subbing in both Mahwah and a bunch of other school districts, and I also spent about 6 months working for Northern Valley, a short term with the technology department. The presentation started talking about what an integral part of the curriculum technology is, but then it dropped off when the actual plan came out. to have a plan that 2 years from now, you still in the high school have a goal of, in the middle school both, having carts. Carts, there's, schools stopped talking about putting carts around years ago. Like, yeah, you're far behind and you don't see it. It's scary.
Can you, Mr. Gasler, tell us what Northern Valley is doing in regard to their technology
Northern Valley
distribution?
is one-on-one in the high school. It's only a high school district, so each sending district has their own policies. I know that Demarest Middle School has one-on-one for the whole middle school.
Okay.
And then the elementary schools have one computer per student in the building, but not one-to-one that they take home. Only the middle school and high school take them home.
Okay.
You mentioned the high school kids getting the Mahwah K-12 email for next year. As far as I know, the high school kids have it. They just don't know it. The JK kids have it. My son is in 4th grade. He could log into his JK 365 account. The problem is we have this technology and we're not even using what we have. These kids in JK, they should be using Office 365 too. Why aren't we talking about that? The pilot programs, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to answer you, but go ahead.
The pilot programs, you mentioned about John using the classroom notebook and getting stuff out there for people to be able to access. Why not do that in the elementary schools now? Not 2-3 years from now when, okay, one last thought. The kids going into college now from districts that have one-to-one programs, they are learning differently. The kids in Montvale have been, since they were little kids, been dealing with having a device. The classrooms are running differently, as you're starting to see with the Office 365. It's a different way of teaching, it's a different way of structuring the class, but it doesn't, there's a point where it gets cut off when there's not enough devices per kid. If 2 English classes are writing papers and they both writing those on a device, and there's only 1 per 2 classes, how is that supposed to work? It can't. These kids are going to go to college with these other kids that have for years been learning this way, and the colleges are learning this way. And it's not going to affect my kids as much they're in 2nd and 4th grade, because by the time they get into high school, they're going to be caught up, hopefully. But the kids in high school now are going into college at a disadvantage when their peers are learning the way that colleges are teaching. That's what I see.
And you said a whole bunch, but you said some real good stuff. I think in a perfect world, Mr. Gasler, we'd love every student to have a device in their classroom and to be able to take it home and have an extra to spare if it should break and fall. I could tell you that. I think I could speak for the board if we had the ability to do that. There are a couple things that go along with giving kids those devices, and that has to go with the professional development piece that Christine spoke about a lot. And being an educator yourself and in those different venues, you know how important that is. It is important to us, as with every initiative we have in the district, whether it's balanced literacy or our math, everyday math, our teachers have the professional development that goes along with that. All of those have costs associated with them. So our proposal is to get as many devices in the hands of students to get us closer to a world that you're talking about, and perhaps 5 years from now there'll be a recommendation to the board that says we want to do a cart in every classroom. We need to be fiscally responsible in moving forward. We need to get our kids ready for the future. I'm not going to tell you that our kids are at a disadvantage because
no, I'm saying that.
No, you are, and you can, but I won't. And partly the reason that I won't is because we have a tremendous teaching staff. And our teaching staff has utilized the hardware that we have here, as well as what it is they have at home, and putting things on flash drive and bringing them in.
Flash drives are extinct. No one's using flash drives. Everyone's using
Gasler,
cloud drive.
You're correct, and we're moving in that direction.
But too slowly, that's my concern.
You know what, you're right. You're right. But we can talk about the fact that, you know, maybe other districts may have found it right at the time for where they were and where they were in our budget. This is our time. And we've done pretty good so far. We're going to do even better, but it requires a lot of people coming together. Yeah, flash drives are extinct. You know, welcome Office 365. You talked about grades 4 and 5, and they can do it. Yeah, those kids can do it, and they can email, and they can learn. But along with that goes with professional development. So we didn't want to say to the board, you know what, we're going to professionally develop the rest of those 6th, 7th, 8th grade teachers, and we're going to do the high school teachers, and we're going to move down to 4, 5, and we're going to bring the kindergarten on board, because all of that professional development, we've got over 500 staff members here, is not going to be successful in that large group.
It's not being done right.
Well, I don't know if it's not being done right. I think that our process moving out has been thoughtful, and we can agree to disagree. I'm sorry, Suzanne, you wanted to say something?
I'd like to add something. My 2 kids both went through Mahwah High School, and they're both in college right now. And kids are highly adaptable, and they were using devices at home, even though we weren't supplying them in the schools, and learning the way kids their age are learning, even though they didn't have devices supplied by the school. And even in college, you'd be shocked. You know, even though you think we're a little behind, we're very progressive compared to other parts of the country. And in colleges right now, you'd expect everyone walking around with a laptop. They're not. It's still taught a lot of the old-fashioned way, so I think the high schools are starting the movement forward more so than colleges. So I think that what we're doing now is great, and I think that the kids will adapt and we will catch up. And we're doing the best we can in given our budget and, well,
I mean, I think I'd add to that. I mean, that you can accelerate the pace, right? I mean, so we're going basically from what, 15 from our pilot program in the middle school to now
600.
600. So to go from 15 to 600, I think is a good step.
But then the next year, you're not doing anything in the
right. So I understand how that is right now, but my view as somebody who's on the finance committee is that as we start to see the results that we expect from going from 15 to over 600, then you can accelerate pace, you can re-examine budget priorities, and we can see what's doable there. But I think it's easier to accelerate off a proven base once you spread it out across multiple grades and you're out there experiencing it, than it is to pull back after, say, going all in across the board with every kid in every classroom. And you may disagree with that, and that's fine. I think you know more about technology in the classroom than I do, so I wouldn't lecture you about it. But I think it's just easier to accelerate than it is to launch big and then end up with hiccups that are unanticipated and you have to pull back from. So,
Chuck,
yep, sorry.
sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Because you can go.
Did I interrupt you? I apologize.
I was just going to add, when technology started rolling out through the state, if you examine all the mistakes that were done, and I think that's really why we took the approach that we took. It was a slow approach, and you said it. Technology is changing, and you said you're a technologist. Almost every 3 months, something else is being announced. Something else is rolling out in the field. I like the approach because it's going to give us the opportunity to re-examine. It aligns with what Chuck's saying. We can accelerate at any time. When we know the time is right and it's going to fit with the curriculum that we're designing for our future children and our kids and the kids that are going to be working in business. Businesses take a long time. I've worked in the field for a long time in technology. They sometimes are patient because they want to do the pilot programs to make sure that they can do their due diligence before they make a decision to spend millions and billions of dollars. Because you make a mistake, which a lot of school districts have. I see them in the paper all the time. I'm sure you worked at a few. And it's hard to go back to the taxpayers at that point to say, oh, we made a mistake and we're going to redo it again. So I think that the approach that we're taking, we've been talking about it year over year. Let's do it when it's right. And the time is right.
Time is right.
Yeah. So I hope that it answers your question. And like you said, we can agree or disagree.
I work in a district that has a one-to-one program, and we're in either a 4th or 5th year. And I can tell you that the success of that program, I think, as someone who was in the pilot, has been taking a slow approach. As a teacher, I know that, as Mr. Miller said, you have to build that, you have to reach that tipping point with getting teachers on board, because at first, it's a new thing, and you're absolutely right. Teaching with technology in a one-to-one is completely different. Changes the way the classroom works, and I agree with you that it is, once you do it, there's no going back. I agree, 100%. But I do think that it was my experience, doing it in a slower way gave us the opportunity to really assess the platform that we chose, to assess what we could do with it. There's so many different options, learning management systems, what you're actually, I mean, Windows 365 to me is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's just so much more, you know what you can do with it and how it changes teaching. So I think that the slow approach is really, I think, a better approach. Believe me, I'm with you. If I could do it tomorrow and just flip the switch, everybody would have one. I'm 100% in agreement with you there.
Even if we did one-to-one this year, in the whole middle school, high school, which is not, of course, what we would consider, but that could still be considered a slow approach. We waited 4 or 5 years while districts did it. Now it's past the slow approach.
But you can't just turn teaching on its ear. I mean, like Chris was saying, teaching one-to-one is completely different than what they're doing now. So if you just say, okay, next year, forget what you know, because now you got to do it completely differently, it's not going to be successful. The laptop is a wonderful tool, but it's a tool. It's the teacher that implements that tool and comes up with the curriculum and decides how to use it. And if the teachers aren't comfortable and don't have that professional development in place to really be able to make the most of that tool, then it's not going to be successful in the classroom.
Mr. Gaslow, if I may, we went through a couple of different options, and you said, well, why don't you give every middle school student a laptop? And we talked about that, and finance and facility will nod their heads saying that was your first proposal. And then we sat back down, because the problem with that was not doing it the first year, because we end up with the same cost associated. It was rolling it out, because if you're going to give an 8th grader and a 7th grader and a 6th grader a computer in class, what do you do when they get to 9? You give them a computer, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do when they get to 10? You give them a computer. So you're eventually, well, it is what you do, but what happens with that is that the cost goes up monumentally to a point where the board can no longer afford it within the budget it currently has. So what we decided to do, and I'm sure you heard me say this, we wanted to give the most amount of computers to the most amount of kids in the shortest period of time. And that became our objective, and we changed focus a week and a half ago. And it's okay, it was still in a working process, and we provided that rationale, so I could say to you, you're saying we're moving slow. If I said 6, 7, and 8 instead of the board next year, can't help you. You don't have money for 9. We're not going to be able to fit it in the budget. What a disservice we have given our kids. We've now given it to them and then stepped back. So we did think about that. We did work through that and talk about it. But we wanted to present something that the board would say, we can do this. And that means you're going to have half the students in our district that are going to have access to a device almost on an every other day basis. That's a whole bunch better to where we were this year. Slow as it may be, it's our time now. And I think it's a good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evelyn Slugberg. I'd just like to add, my daughter, she's in the first year at college now, and the kids, and there are a lot of teachers who have embraced technology totally. And my daughter was using everything since freshman year, whether it was Turnitin or various other means, and the kids were using various means to collaborate on projects outside of the school venue because they didn't have that, whether it was a Facebook group or whatever. So they've been doing it already. They've been doing it for years now. It's just, actually having the physical laptop to be able to do it at school. So I would say that, my feeling would have been to make sure that the high school level kids have it and then to roll it down as you can. Because I think they get the more bang for the buck out of it and they utilize it more and would be able to use it as a better tool, and then roll it down. So that would be my feeling.
I think there are arguments on both sides, but I think the reason for the middle school just seemed to make the most sense because we have so many teachers there who are so interested in moving it forward. I texted Mr. Miller after school. I said, I know you presented to your faculty because our team thought it was very important that the faculty do what it was that we were recommending prior to us just recommending it. And I texted Mr. Miller and I said, so how did the faculty feel? And he said, very excited, exactly what he said now. And to me, it's because we took that thoughtful progression moving forward that it kind of makes sense to, it's not a now hear this, it's a more of, we think that's what it is that you need at this point is kind of what it is you're asking for.
Yeah,
so I understand what you're saying. There are two thoughts to that, but we're going to recommend moving it the way we've suggested.
I do know that since Matt, was in the middle school with Samantha, not really, but with Matt, they're doing the Turnitin and they're utilizing more things too. So it's trickled, you know, the whole thing's trickled down.
Our teachers are doing amazing things with technology. It is our hope and our belief that they'll do even more amazing things with more access to technology. So thank you.
Christine Rankin for Ivy League. A quick question on the $270,000 annual expense. In what year of this proposal does that kick in? Is it in addition to the year 16-17 expense you have 270, or is it year 4 after the, or year 3?
No, the 16-17 we anticipate 170,000 for that initial deployment, and the year 2 would be the 170 in addition to another 100 for the total of 270.
Okay.
So
And then
it would
you
be
said
year
the-
2, the 17-18 school year.
Okay, so then you said there was an annual maintenance of 270 a year, or just that's the total? What's then the annual maintenance,
That's the
increased
lease.
cost of maintenance taking care of the extra 500 computers every year?
Well, that 270 would be there as a line item. Like lease, yeah, be there as a line item to regularly lease and renew. Unless we, again, as we had mentioned, unless we decide to have another deployment or we decide to increase the number of computers that we have available, then that number would go up. But until that time comes, the 270 would be the ceiling for what that line item would be.
Okay, thank you.
Just another question regarding that. Now, the 270, that's for the 3-year lease, and then is that, no, how many years? How many years is the 270 just going to be?
There's 270 is comprised of 2 separate leases. The first, which would be leasing the initial deployment, at about 170 a year. And then the second deployment of, I think it was about 500 computers, which we estimated at around $100,000 a year.
Right. And the lease runs for how many years?
We're looking to have both leases run 3 years.
3 years. And then at the end of the 3 years, it's renegotiated?
We would re-examine it and see if we need to release the same number of computers again, or if we need to adjust it in any way.
Okay, and the price can change?
Certainly, our hope is it goes down.
We hope so.
We hope it goes
We
down.
hope so.
It certainly could change, but we're hoping that the device that we selected and at that price point is something that's still going to be there in about 6 years, that quality device, that comparable device at that price point.
Okay, and then at the end of the lease, you can upgrade, you can change computers, anything you want to do at the end of the lease. Is there any option mid-lease if you find that the model computer that something, is there a way to upgrade the computers?
Yeah, it's like leasing a car, you know?
I'm
You're
just-
happy with the big way, you're keeping it for the remainder
I'm just
and then turning
checking,
it in.
just checking.
Yes.
So, okay, just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Yes, right. It's like mileage. 15 cents is good. Thank you, everybody. I'd like a motion to adjourn. Rick De Silva and Leslie Conoco. Thank you very much. Take a vote, please. Thank you, everybody.
The maintenance is already included.
Okay, yeah.
There is no renewal cost. On one of the slides, the maintenance for the 3 years for damage, it's already there. There is no.
Yeah, I saw that.
Additionally, in other schools, they charge us.
Oh, no, thank you, thank you. They're still trying When I go to work, all right.
That's the thing.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Let's be realistic. That's what we have kids.
One teacher may say, I want to grow up.
Do the same as possible. Walk away. You know it.